Bhakti Swapadantikam Paramananda Pattaya Prema Vakshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. Hari Om Tat Sat. Good morning. So we're hopefully can finish the chapter today. Vitrasura is sharing the determination of his mind, having told Indra that the weapon, the thunderbolt weapon, is indeed infallible, being empowered by the austerities of the Dichi and also the desire of the Lord. There is no question of his thunderbolt being useless, as the club weapon that he used against him was useless. That was the last verse that we looked at. So Indra, of course, is not convinced because Atmavan Manyate Jagat. So Atmavan Manyate Jagat means as you are, you see others. That's basically the sense here. So Indra is very much preoccupied with obtaining Swargaloka. So he sees others such as Vitrasura, his adversary, as being equally interested or motivated. And therefore, he's just speaking words of deception in order that he may ultimately obtain Swarga. That's how Indra is thinking about him. I think in postmodern psychology, they call this as projection. In any case, Vitrasura wants to share the actual determination of his mind. So he requests Indra to sever the rope of his body, the material body for a person like Vitrasura is experienced as like a noose around the neck of the soul. Of course, the soul doesn't have a neck in the literal sense, but in a poetic sense, the body is experienced as a noose around the neck of the soul. And he's asking Indra to use his thunderbolt weapon to cut that noose. And he said, Apavidaloka. Apavidaloka means he's given up the desires for the higher planetary systems, what to speak of the, like Swarga, what then to speak of the middle or lower planetary system. Apavidaloka. I have no more interest in the domains that pertain to the material dimension of being. Apavidaloka. So, which verse did we leave off on? Was it 22? Right? Yeah. Okay. And then he says, by severing off that noose, I'll concentrate my mind on the lotus feet of the deity of my heart, which is Sankarsana for Vitrasura. I'll concentrate my mind on the deity of my heart. And that way I will attain the abode of the yogis, such as Narada Muni. So that is the actual determination of my mind. So he's expressing a devotional sentiment starting to come out of Vitrasura. This will be shocking both to Indra, who's hearing from the mouth of Vitrasura. It's also going to be shocking to Parikshit Maharaj, who's hearing this story. How is it possible for such a demon, as far as eyes can see, can be so devotionally inclined? Anyway, it was also very astonishing for Indra to hear this. And so he's initially taking it as, it seems from the commentators, that it seems that he's taking this as some deception here, so I can gain Swarga, because he's doing the projection on Vitrasura. So Vitrasura continues to reveal his devotional sentiments and also his understanding of their Lord. Asmatpati, he's going to use this word, Asmatpati, our Lord. We have the same Lord. So he's going to reveal his understanding of the Lord that he has. So this is the next verse. This is verse 22. I think that's where we left off. Pumsa kilai kantadiyam swakanam yasam padodi vibhumo rasayam narati yadve sharudve garadhir madha kalir vyasanam samprayasa. There's a translation. So persons who are fully surrendered at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always think of his lotus feet, are accepted and recognized by the Lord as his own personal assistants or servants. The Lord never bestows upon such servants the brilliant opulences of the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems of this material world. When one possesses material opulence in any of these three divisions of the universe, his possessions naturally increases enmity, anxiety, mental agitation, pride, and belligerence. Thus, one goes through much endeavor to increase and maintain his possessions, and he suffers great unhappiness when he loses them. So Indra, being materially motivated, thinks that even by your devotion, because he aham samadhaya manoso, by absorption of the mind and my deity, sankarshana. So Indra can understand his devotion. So Indra was thinking, by your devotion, the Lord will benedict you with swarga. He's stuck on that swarga point. So by your devotion, the Lord will benedict you with swarga. You're saying, I'll attain the abode of the yogis, he will give you swarga only. So he's saying, no, you don't understand our Lord. Let me explain who is our Lord. You do not understand. So he says, Pungsa, Kila ekanta diyam swakhanam. So the word ekanta diyam, one whose mind is fixed on one point. It's fixed only on the service of the Supreme Lord. This is called ekanta diyam. We discussed this many times in the last weeks. And BRS, when in the section on adhikara, Vaidhi Bhakti, and adhikara is a huge section. And so he's describing, first you get adhikar by sadhu sangha, they give you shraddha, and from shraddha you have adhikar for Vaidhi Bhakti. Then he says that adhikar has three divisions, kanishta, madhyam, uttam, adhikar, like that. And then he starts to describe, if you have desire for bhukti and mukti, then you cannot taste the happiness of bhakti. So in other words, you don't have adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti if you have desire for Bhukti and Mukti. Bhukti Mukti Spriha Yaba Pishashi Hriti Vartate. Tava Bhakti Sukhasyatra Katama Buddhayo Bhaya. So then he shares tons of shlokas from Srimad Bhagavatam that deprecate Bhukti and specifically Mukti, which the Bhaktas are particularly antagonistic against because it permanently cuts you off from the opportunity of devotional service. So having shared that, in order for you to have adhikar for bhakti, you should give up bhukti and mukti. Then he wants to speak about those who have highest adhikar. So he says those who have the highest adhikar, they are called ekantina. They have the highest adhikar. And he wants to distinguish them from those who have adhikar for obtaining Vaikuntha. So he says there are some devotees, they are interested, they're muktas, that have a predominance of desire for sukha and aishwarya of the spiritual world. And they also have some prema, but mostly is sukha aishwarya. Then there's some muktas who have a predominance of desire for prem seva, but there are also some desire for the sukha and aishwarya of the spiritual world, such as sharshti, samipya, sarupya, salokya, etc. He says, but the ekantinas, they don't have any of those desires. They don't have sukha, aishwarya, uttara mentality, nor do they have prem, seva, uttara mentality. They are only fixed on the service of Bhagavan. And they will give up these muktis even, if only to serve the Lord. The story is there told. I don't know from where it comes, or if this is just like a traditional story. But when Krishna has the headache, so he goes to the Vaikuntha-vasis. They don't mind giving the foot dust. That is a remedy to cure the headache. So Narada Muni goes first to the Vaikuntha-vasis. They don't want to give the foot dust because they're afraid it will offend the Lord. So he goes to the Dwarka-vasis. They don't want to give the foot dust. They don't mind making offense to the Lord because their bhava is a little higher. So they don't mind the offense, but they're afraid of separation from the Lord perpetually by being in hell. So finally he goes to the gopis, and then they're not afraid of the separation also. And so they immediately give the foot dust, to which Narada Muni is quite astonished. So this is ekanta diya. They don't have any, for the service of Bhagavan, they can give up the mukti. That was the point I'm making. Even the samipya, salokya, etc., they can give it up for the seva of Bhagavan. So these are called as ekanti dhyam. People who are absorbed in God like this. It's a very extraordinary state of consciousness, as you can understand. For persons who have such consciousness, pungsa ekantadiyam, swakhanam. Swakhanam means Krishna considers this is my person. These are my people, swakhanam. These are his own people. As Krishna has described in the Uddhav Gita, he even considers such those to be more than his own self. What to speak of his self? They're more than my own self, these sorts of devotees. So here it says, Yasampado divi pumorasayam narati. He does not give the opulence of the higher, middle, and lower planetary systems. Why he does not give the opulence? So yadvesha udvega adhir madha kalya vyasanam samprayasya. Because it generates all these bad qualities, obfuscating the life of bhajan. That's what he's saying here. Andvesha means, envy, udvega, anxiety, mental agitation, pride, quarrel, distress due to loss, great endeavor. So for this reason, he does not give the opulence to his devotees. That's what he's saying. Indra's concern is that you have bhakti for the Lord, and he will give you swarga. He's saying no, for his ekanti diyam devotees, who he considers to be his own people, he does not give the wealth to them because it generates all these bad qualities that prevents them from doing bhajan. The example itself is Indra's story. This whole story is this thing only. Indra himself rebuked his opulence because it caused him to do offense to his guru and thus caused disaster for him and his people in Swargaloka. So this whole story is having this theme kind of like locked into it or woven into the theme of the story. That the Lord, he's saying, the Lord will not bestow this wealth upon his ekanti diyam devotees. So that is the Yasyaha Anugrenami Hari Shetatanam Shanai concept that we hear. When Yudhishthira was asking Krishna why your devotees don't have opulence. He says they do have opulence, but their opulence is nirguna, whereas the bhaktas of Shiva, so Shiva is the husband of the goddess Durga. So the opulence of Shiva bhaktas is composed of the gunas of Prakriti. The word guna means rope. So their opulence are ropes. This whole rope, the noose on the neck of the soul, their opulences are ropes that are binding their souls to this samsara chakra, this cycle of samsara. Is that an opulence that you have to bear so much anxiety, so much unhappiness? We used to always joke, I didn't grow up in the hood, but I was just like a few steps removed from the hood. We were almost the hood. So, you have a lot of ghetto friends. And we used to always joke that we never knew anyone poor committing suicide. We never knew anyone, because when you're poor, you have these dreams of the sort of progress you can make and to be happy in this material world. You can gain this object, that object to become happy. But those who already have a lot of opulences and they're not happy by those opulences, so they say, I've already achieved the pinnacle of material experience. Still, the existential vacuum is demoralizing my soul, and then they just commit suicide. So the Lord, he knows all this thing, that the opulence of Shiva bhaktas is of the gunas, but the opulence of my bhaktas is nirguna. That's why you can't see it necessarily. Their wealth is bhakti, their wealth is prema. That is nirguna. You cannot see that which is nirguna with your material eyes. So the devotees may look like they have nothing, but they have great wealth. They have the currency by which they can get out of the material world, minimally, and also by which they can purchase, if you will, the heart of God. They have that currency, their guna currency. They have that. So the Lord will not give the opulences composed of the gunas, because it will bind them. It will create all these ropes. So this verse is telling you all the ropes that come: envy, anxiety, mental agitation, quarrel, extreme endeavor, etc., etc. So how they will do bhajan if they're tied down by all these ropes? It is very, devotees today, we often don't like to speak this point too strongly, because we are, we find integration with the society to be healthy. And so as a result of that, we don't like to speak this point so strongly. But if you have seen, for any of you who are following Damodar Maharaj's Monday morning greetings, I actually don't follow it. I incidentally saw an article though this morning. That's because I saw my name in it. Yeah, so I like, oh, my name is there. So in the article, he was mentioning how we were having a conversation in Kali. And I had brought up how Prabhupada's purports are such that previously people thought them like fanatical. But now, if people were to hear the same purports, they'll just think it as matter of fact, because Prabhupada's purports are being fulfilled in real time in our eyes in 2021, 2022. We can like see what Prabhupada's talking about: demonic, slaughterhouse education system, the demonic governance and corruption, et cetera, et cetera. So we are able to actually perceive that with our actual senses. So I said, now you can kind of just speak Prabhupada's purports more or less point blank, and everyone wouldn't even bat an eye. And so in the course of that, he began describing how devotees are like working really hard in the cities, because he's moving around, staying here and there. And he's seeing how devotees are working 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours, but they're not getting time for bhajan. So he was bringing up a dilemma how Prabhupada taught simple living, higher thinking, live very simply. And but no devotee, as far as we probably know, we're prepared to do that. We're not prepared to do that practically. We're not even prepared to do it psychologically. Most of us can't even think in that way. And so he was bringing up the dilemma this is creating in the life of devotees, bhajan. So I say the COVID pandemic was given by Krishna. I say this because he wanted to see who of his devotees are actually interested in his bhakti. You see, my devotees, these postmodern devotees, they get a little bit too integrated to this demonic society for my taste. Let me send this pandemic their way. Everything happening in the material world is under the control of God, and we know that he is moved only by his devotees, even the sadhakas. That is why Shrishti Leela takes place. It is only out of desire for reciprocation with the sadhakas. That is what Jiva Goswami has taught in the Sandarbhas. So we have to see what is any event or eventuality is also directed by the Lord for some purpose that is also beneficial to his bhaktas. Devotees, we at least think in this way. And so I say that this pandemic is actually started by God himself. Because the devotees are getting too integrated into materialistic society, and they're using philosophy to justify their integration. Oh, Yukta Vairagya this, oh, the other thing. And then their bhajan is being compromised because of that. This is what the verse is saying. This is what the verse is telling. He doesn't give to his ekanta dhyana because it will create the ropes that will bind them to this world and prevent them from doing bhajan. It will prevent them from being able to think of the Lord even when they chant japa. Even when they hear Bhagavatam, they'll be thinking of these ropes only. So he doesn't give this well. So Indra, so the point he's making to Indra is that you don't worry, my Lord will not give me the opulence of the upper lower planetary system. He will not give me the opulence of Swarga. That is your concern. Don't worry, my Lord will not give that opulence to me. And the next verse, continuing the same idea, Trivarkikaya sevigatumasmat pati vidate purushasha chakra toto numeyo bhagavat prasado yadurlabo kenchana gochara nyai. Trivarkika. So Trivarkika means dharma, artha, kama. These three. So ayasa means the endeavor. So the Lord will not give it to his devotees. So what if the devotee endeavors himself? The Lord will not give it. That's okay. He doesn't have to give. I myself will make the endeavor. So if you try Vargika, ayasya. If you make the endeavor for Dharma Artha Kama, vighatum, asmat pati. Asmat pati means our Lord. Indra and Vitrasura, they have the same Lord. So it's our Lord, he will vighatum. Vighatum means he will ruin their endeavors for Dharma Artha Kama. So the devotee may think, oh, the Lord will not give it. It is okay. I'll myself make the endeavor. So he says the Lord will ruin their endeavors for Dharma Artha Kama. So this is the trade-off of becoming a kantidiyam. So that's why maybe we're a little bit apprehensive. I don't know about that. Like Lord is a little bit too active in my life. Traivarkika yasha vighatum asmatpati. Our Lord will ruin their endeavors for Dharma Artha Kama of his devotees. Vidate Purushasha Chakra. Oh, Indra, if people endeavor, people here, Purushasha means his devotees. If they endeavor for this, then he will ruin their endeavors. Tata anumeya bhagavat prasado. In this way, tata, in this way, anumeya bhagavat prasado. One is to infer the mercy of the Lord, bhagavat prasado. One can infer the mercy of Bhagavan by this. I try to embrace the matter. I've tried it. And I saw that at every step, I was being frustrated. And therefore, you can infer, Lord is having some mercy upon you. This is a phenomenon that many new bhaktas observe when they come to Krishna consciousness. And those of us who are been around, we also observe it. They come and their life was kind of like, you have a few types. Some types of devotees, they come, their lives were already down and out. And devotional service is really like a point, a step up from where they were, even materially speaking. But you have people whose lives are more or less like, together, like put together. And then they really find devotional service beautiful. They surrender to the beauty of what they're hearing. And as they surrender, they notice that things in their life start going really bad. And, my partner left me, this thing, the other thing, that this actually takes place. And when they're telling the devotees about this, the devotees are like, hurry, go. Of course, we don't say that in front of them. It's a little discouraging. But we're just like, yeah, man, wow, it's tough. But internally, we're like, yeah, you getting? Anumeya bhagavat prasado. This way, the mercy of the Lord is to be inferred. You're getting the real mercy by that your life is falling apart. The life of matter is falling apart. So it feels like a pinch because we are attached to that life of matter. But as a general rule of thumb, in order for you to grow, even forget spiritual life, even material life, if you have to grow, there has to be a certain death that takes place, right? A ego death, if you will. You're one type of person, and that type of person is disallowing you from actualizing a potential that you have. And so that person's got to go in order for that potential to be actualized. Like Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, progress means elimination and new acceptance. I always love this saying. Progress means elimination and new acceptance. And so this thing is going on. Even in the conventional sense, which is outside of the world of spirituality, there has to be a death in order for there to be life, right? It's, there's a winter and then there's just, the spring, a death before the new life emerges. That is the cycle of life. Creation, maintenance, and then destruction for new life to come. So that cycle of creation, that's how we normally describe the modes of nature, right? Passion, goodness, ignorance, it moves in that sequence. Creation, maintenance, and the destruction. That cycle of life exists psychologically. There's a certain mentality that is useful for some time, and then it exhausts. Such a mentality may exhaust its usefulness, and it has to be destroyed in order for a new mentality to emerge that is helpful for your progressive life. Anyway, so also in spiritual life, it is like this. We have this phrase from a book I like to describe this phenomena as falling upward. So the experience of it is obviously not very pleasant for the mind that is attached to inertia, attached to being a certain way, attached to moving in a certain way. But it's necessary for new life to emerge. So anyway, one can infer the mercy of the Lord when their endeavors for matter are frustrated. So Indra may say, well, I haven't experienced this. I'm getting swarga most of the time. So what are you talking about? So then Richard Sura says, Ya durlabha. This is very rare because the Lord will not give it to everyone. He will give it only to his akinchana gochara. Akinchana gochara means those devotees who are without the material possessions. Those devotees who are akinchana vittaya. Their only treasure is the Lord. They're called as akinchana also. They have one possession only. That is their relation with God. That is their treasure. So for them, they experience this. But if you are not a kinchana vittaya, having God as the treasure of your heart, then you may not experience this. Ya durlabo kinchana gochara anyay. Others, anyay means others, they don't experience this. this sort of mercy. That doesn't come for them. I wonder, is this the place? Anyway, so this ends that sequence of so Indra, Indra is still not doing anything because he thinks only materialistically. So he's just standing there hearing this sort of initial outpouring of devotional sentiment for Vitrasura, but it appears that he was having some disbelief in his words because it's very hard to remove our prejudices. They're not so easy. So seeing his reluctance to strike him with a thunderbolt weapon, Vitrasura becomes utterly frustrated. And he's like, this fellow is completely useless. He's totally materialistic. I must take recourse to our Lord only. So it is said here by Sri Vishnu specifically that the Lord appeared in his mind, in the sky of his mind, or maybe the Lord appeared in the sky also, I don't know. At least in the sky of his mind, the Lord appears before him. And seeing his Lord, he begins to offer prayers to the Lord. So these last 4 verses, they're very famous in the Srimad Bhagavatam, these last 4 verses. Jiva Goswami says in Priti Sandarbha that it is because of these verses that the Vitrasura Leela has been glorified and has been considered as one of the outstanding Leelas to characterize the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is characterized as the literature that has the story of Vitra in it. So Jiva Goswami says the only reason the story of Vitra is highlighted is because of these prayers, these 4 prayers, which are expressing his prema, his devotion to the Supreme Lord. So they're quite famous prayers. So here's the first of them. Aham hare tava padaika mula dasa nudaso bhavitang sibhuya manasmarata supater gunamste grinita va karma korutukaya. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet? O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant, so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes, my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. So his first sentiment here is Aham Hare Tava Padaika Mula Dasanu Daso Bhavitang Sibuya. He wants to know when will he again obtain the association of the servant of his lotus feet. So this is very telling prayer for Vitrasura because he, in this body of a demon, has not had sadhu sangha this life. So he's remembering his previous sadhu sangha, we'll hear later, with Narada Muni, Angita Muni, other devotees, Shiva. This life he has not obtained sadhu sangha. And the pain of not obtaining sadhu sangha is devastating him. So his first prayer, because again, he's already prayed like this. He's already revealed this to Indra, that if you kill me, my body will be offered to other living beings, and I will obtain the dust of the sadhus, that which I have not obtained this life because I have this birth as Vitrasura. I have not gained sadhu sangha yet. This is the actual pain of my heart. So he's saying, sever my body so I can get sadhu sangha, sever this rope so I can get sadhu sangha. And you're not doing it. So he sees the Lord. He's like, when will I get to sadhu sangha? That's what he's praying for here. Prabhupada, his purport quotes, Tandera charana sevi bhakta sanivas janama janame hoya abhilasha. I mentioned this verse yesterday, incidentally. That by only desire, life after life, Narottam Das Thakur is saying, to serve your lotus feet and to live with sadhus. So Vitrasura did not have this sadhu sangha, so he's lamenting this. This is the pain of his heart. It reminded me of another prayer from Prahlad Maharaj in his stuti to Bhagavan Nrsimha. Trastosmyaham kripana vatsaladu sahogra samsara chakra kadanad grasatam pranita badha swakarma birushatama tengri mulam rito parvarga sharanam vajase kadanu. This is a very nice verse. Torstosmiyaham. This verse comes after Prahlada's given a pretty descriptive image of the ferocious form of Ugra Nrsimha. His nails, his garland of intestines, his ripping apart all the demons and his father. He's given a pretty ferocious description. And he says, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of that form. So after saying that, well, if you're not afraid of this form, which would be pretty scary, I always joke that if the Lord Nrsimha were to manifest suddenly from our chanting of Nrsimha, Stava, like, Namaste, Narasimha, like he started roar. So all the devotees, we would scatter. We would be afraid, like the Devotees, when they saw the Lord's form, they became very afraid. Prahlad Maharaj said, I am not afraid. So what are you afraid of then? So then he speaks this verse, Tastrosmiyaham. Kripana Vatsaladusa Hogra Samsara Chakra Kadanagra Satam Pranita. He says, I am very much afraid of being thrown in the association. Agrasata means crocodiles. They devour each other. He's talking about his family. They're all non-devotees. So he's saying, I've been forcibly thrown in this samsara chakra in the association of crocodiles. These people who just devour each other. And this is very fearful for me. Now, he will later on say in this prayer that ordinary samsara is not fearful for him because he is always absorbed in the glorifying the Lord. How does that verse start? Oh God, I haven't quoted this verse in a while. Anyway, later on it says, so the samsara chakra, Sri Vishnu points out here, the samsara chakra means the association of non-devotees who criticize Bhagavan and his devotees. That is the grasatam. So he said, this is very much fearful to me. Bhada swakarma bid. And it is due to my own actions that I've obtained this bondage. And this is the fear that is binding my heart. So when will you again bring me to your lotus feet? He's praying like this to the Supreme Lord. So in a similar sentiment, Vitrasura is saying, first prayer he's saying, when will I get this sadhu sangha? So of course, devotees, I suspect a lot of us, we live around devotees, hopefully many of us do. So we often forget what a privilege it is to have sadhu sangha. So we're not always able to pray like this or be grateful for what we do have. In any case, this is his first sentiment. When will I again attain the lotus feet of the bhaktas? And the Lord may say, take some benediction. Manasmara teshu pater gunam ste grinita va karma karotu kaya. So may my mind always remember you. That is a prayer of my mind. May my mind always remember you. This is the prayer of my voice. May my voice always speak your qualities. This is the prayer of my body. May my body always render service to you. So my mind has a prayer. My voice also has a prayer. My body also has a prayer. The prayer of my mind is for remembering you. The prayer of my voice is to speak your qualities. The prayer of my body is to serve you. This is the benediction that I ask for you, Lord. And again, my body is, as Vitrasura is creating a little bit of an obstacle. That's why he's wanting Indra to cut it. So Krishna may say, because he does this thing to test the devotee or to demonstrate the glory of the devotee, I'll give you Swarga Loka. So then the next verse is spoken. Nanaka prishtam nachaparameshtam na sarvabhomam narasadipatyam na yoga siddhirapuna bhavamba samanjasatva virahaya kankshe. No, I don't want Swarga Loka. Nanaka prishtam means I don't want Swarga. Naka prishtam here is a reference to Swarga. Nachaparameshtam. Nachaparameshtam means the highest seat in the universe. I think that is taken as the Dhruva Loka. Parameshtam, the planet where Brahma resides. So yeah, it's called Parameshti sometimes. Naka prishtam, Sri Vishnu says means Swarga, or Prabhupada has it here in the words where if you look at it, it means Dhruva Loka also, so high planet. Na Sarvabhauma, I don't want the Bhumando, Narasadi Patyam, nor the Bila Swarga below the earth. Na Yoga Siddhi, I don't want mystic power. Na Apunar Bhavamba, nor do I want liberation. Samanjasa twa means the Lord who can supply all opportunities. Virahaya kangshe. I do not desire any of these things because of separation from me. This is the pain in my heart. This reminded me immediately of a verse. I unfortunately haven't committed this verse to memory, even though I reference it so much. In the first canto, the question is being answered about the birth of Parikshit Maharaj by Sutta Goswami. So he's about to describe his birth and how Yudhishthira takes him to astrologers to see his chart and to discover that Parikshit Maharaj has all the qualities of all the great personalities in one body. So before that, there's a description of the opulence of Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas. So Kemte Kamasura Aspar Har Mukunda Manasodija. Adijahu Mudam Rajna Kshuditasu Yatetare. This is 112.6. It's a very nice verse. The opulence of the Pandavas was such that it was desired by all the Devatas. Kamasura Sparhak. Their opulence was aspired for by the Devatas. But Mukunda Manasa, their minds are only on Mukunda and did not care for their opulences. What were the use of such opulences? Kemte Kamasura Sparhar Mukunda Manasa. What are the use of such opulence aspired for even by the Devatas for persons whose minds are always on Mukunda? Adidrahu Mudhanajna. The king could not get any pleasure from that opulence. So an example is given. Shuddhi Tasha Yatetere. Prabhupada doesn't translate it in his verse, but he speaks about it in his purport. Shuddhi Tasha Yatetere means it is just like a person who is hungry, not being able to get inspired by other things around them, even if great opulence. Just like we grew up in the West when the story of King Midas, and the story of King Midas is whatever he touched turned into gold. I don't know if you. So when he first got that benediction, he was like wilding out. He's like, this is awesome. Touching everything, turn everything to gold and enjoy. But then when he went to eat and he touched the apple that he was about to eat, the apple also turned into gold. So then he realized that he was cursed. This was not a benediction, but rather a curse. That's very good imagery, actually. Now, what is the use of all that gold for a hungry belly? There's no use. So similarly for a devotee who's feeling this separation from God, what is the use of all this opulence? The Lord is saying, I'll give you Swarga. What is the use for a Swarga Loka for a person like me who are feeling the hunger of separation from my Lord, the hunger of separation from sadhus? What is the use of such wealth? And you'll sometimes hear devotees who went away from devotional service for some time and came back. What was the use of their wealth also? I know at least of one senior devotee who went away from devotional sangha for 20, 30 years, like a long time. Finally came back. And he was also speaking like this. What is the use of such opulence? He was opulent. He was a successful business person. But he said, what was the use of all this? When I was hungry for God and hungry for sadhu sangha. There is no use for such work. Prabhupada writes in the purport, I'll just read it a little bit here, the second paragraph, I think. I love this. He says, the whole material world is full of hungry living beings. The hunger is not for good food, shelter, or sense gratification. The hunger is for the spiritual atmosphere. Due to ignorance only, they think that the world is dissatisfied because there is not sufficient food, shelter, defense, and objects of sense gratification. This is called illusion. When the living being is hungry for spiritual satisfaction, he is misrepresented by material hunger. But the foolish leaders cannot see that even the people who are most sumptuously materially satisfied are still hungry. And what is their hunger and poverty? Their hunger is actually for spiritual food, spiritual shelter, spiritual defense, and spiritual sense gratification. These can be obtained in the association of the Supreme Spirit, Lord Shri Krishna. And therefore, one who has them cannot be attracted by the so-called food, shelter, defense, and sense gratification of the material world, even if they are relished by the denizens of the heavenly planets. Very nice statement. So this is the prayer here of Vitrasura. No, do not give me Swarga. Okay, next prayer. I hope to finish this. So next prayer, this is a particularly famous prayer of these four. The four are famous. Out of the four, this one is the most famous. Ajata pakshat iva mataram kaga stanyam yatavat satarak shudarita priyam priyeva yushritam visharna mano ravindaksha didrikshate tvam. O lotus eye, Lord, as baby birds that have not yet developed their wings always look for their mother to return and feed them, as small calves tied with ropes await anxiously the time of milking, when they will be allowed to drink the milk of their mothers, or as a morose wife whose husband is away from home always longs for him to return and satisfy her in all respects, I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. Virahaya kankshe. So in the last verse, he said virahaya kankshe. Virahaya means viraha, separation. So he's giving imagery to his separation. So the first image he gives, imagery is important, especially in prayer. When we're giving class, we use the intelligence a lot, but in prayer and in love, images and feeling is more important. We have to, we should, at some point, we should learn how to think in images and in feelings, and not just in terms of taxonomy. So he's wanting to give imagery to his feeling of separation. So the first image he gives to express the feeling. Ajata pakshariva mataramka. So just as the baby birds, they have useless wings, they cannot fly. So they have to wait for the mother to come and bring the food. And there's also some fear that commentary is saying there's some fear that the owl may come, some other type of ferocious bird will come and attack them. So in that way, in fear and anticipation, they wait for their mother to come and feed them. So in a similar way, the Lord may take this as, well, I'll protect you from the owl-like Indra, and I'll come and feed you with the various opulences of Swarga and Brahmloka. This is Sri Vishnu's commentary. So he wasn't satisfied with this analogy, because when the mother comes, she feeds the baby with something that is not of herself, right? She feeds the baby a worm. So the worm is different from herself. So in the same way, the Lord may take it, or Vishwasura was thinking, the Lord may take it that I'm asking for something other than himself. He will feed me with something other than himself. He'll protect me from that ferocious bird like Indra and feed me with the foodstuffs that is other than himself. So he said, they're not a good analogy, actually. I don't like this analogy. So he speaks another analogy. Stayam yata vatsatara krudharta. So the vatsatara means the baby cow, the calves. So Shudarta, they are hungry. So they wait for the milk of the mother. So the mother's milk is not different from the mother herself. So this is a more appropriate analogy. You feed me with the stuff that is made of you. That's what he's saying. Don't feed me with the stuff from something else composed of gunas. You feed me of the stuff that is made of you. That is what I'm hungry for. So just as the calf is hungry for the milk, which is made of the mother only, and is nourished by that milk only. So you feed me with the stuff made of you. Still, he wasn't satisfied with this analogy, although it is better. It wasn't sufficient because the calf is only concerned with its own happiness. It is not concerned about the mother. Just like the babies, the mother is conceived of more or less a breast. In the initial state, it has no other concept of a mother as like a whole person having meaning for itself. It's just a breast and it nourishes me. So there's some deficiency in this example also, as far as Vishwasura is concerned, because the calf is concerned only with itself. It doesn't think about the other in the relationship. So he gives another example, which is most appropriate. Priyam priyeva vyushitam vishana. So the wife, she is morose. Vishana. Why is she morose? Because her beloved Priyam is away from home. Vyushita. The Priyam, the most dear one, is away from home, and so she's feeling morose. And she is in that moroseness. She is anticipating, waiting for the husband to return, so she can give pleasure to the husband, and also she herself will be nourished by that relationship, by that pleasure. So this example is more appropriate because the wife is also thinking of the husband. She's also thinking of giving pleasure to the husband. And giving pleasure to the husband, she also will get pleasure. So he's saying, I want to be fed with the stuff that is made of you, but not for my enjoyment. That's my only concern. No, I'm also interested in your seva, your happiness. If your happiness is not a part of it, then I don't want it. So this is the prayer of my mind. My mind is desiring to see you in this particular way. This is the prayer of my mind. And the remembrance, or the prayer of the mind that we mentioned in the previous verse. I feel like there's one comment that I'm missing that was brought up. Yeah, it's not super duper important, but Sri Vishwanath makes a point that the example of the wife and husband is appropriate. He says, but the difference in this example is that the wife satisfies the husband with dasya, sakya, and shringara rasas. Whereas in Vitrasura's mood, he only wants to satisfy the Lord in dasya rasa. He says, so that is the difference. So he makes that comment, so I'm just sharing it there. Okay, last verse. He's thinking, who am I to be so audacious to get such a benediction? That I could have darshan of the Lord like this and have this sort of reciprocation. So feeling himself impoverished and humbled, he offers this last verse. So by my own actions, I've been wandering in the samsara chakra. Now look at me. I have demon body. That's where my wandering got me. So, and the demon body is not really the problem. But the problem is I don't get sadhu sangha because of this demon body. So now he's praying, please, as I'm wandering the samsara chakra, may I have friendship with your devotees. This is my prayer. By your maya, my consciousness remains attached. Asakta chittasya. What is it attached to? Atma, body, atmaja, children, that which comes from the body or born of the body. Dhara, wife, gehe, shu, gehe, shu means house. So by your maya, I'm still attached to all these things. It's what to do. Not the booyah. May it not be though. May it not be. May it not be. Of course, this may it not be part, that is also accomplished in sadhu sangha only. I not to be overwhelming, but I did share, I guess I did pull it up from Dhruva Stuti. He says by sadhu sangha, he was able to cut the knot of ahankara, which causes the atma, atmaja, dare, geheshu, asakta chittasya, this attachment, that is cut by sadhu sangha. So nice verses there, 4, 9, 12. Dhruva Stuti. I'll not recite it. You can look it up because my time is already up. So by sadhu sangha, I will break this. So he's praying, may I have friendship with your devotees. This is my prayer to you. So these 4 prayers he offers to the Supreme Lord because Indra is being so, what's the word I'm looking for? Reluctant is not a good word. I was looking for another word. In any case, Indra not doing his part because of being materialistic. He's praying to the Supreme Lord, please get me out of this situation. Okay, so we'll stop there and the best we could. Okay, so let's check out. It looks like there are a couple of questions. Purva Paksha Harisham says, Sudam Brahmana and the florist from Mathura, Srila Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, chapter 41. Being satisfied with the florist, Lord Krishna not only gave him whatever benedictions he wanted, but over and above that, he offered him all material opulences, family, prosperity, a long duration of life, and whatever else his heart desired within the material world. The florist, based on the descriptions in Krishna books, seems very devoted. Yeah, he was definitely very devoted. Yeah, true. So the Lord is also Yasyaha Nigrinami Harishe Tadinam Shanai. So how we reconcile these two ideas there? So the Lord can give and he cannot give. But the idea here, even in the story of Sudam Brahman, also mature Brahman, The opulences given by the Supreme Lord are not the opulences of the gunas. So he gives them to his devotees that who are not bewildered by such opulences. So that is the basic reconciliation there. Otherwise, while in the forest, Brahmana, the Pandavas, all the kings in the Bhagavatam, they're all having great opulences. But how do they look upon their opulences? As the stool only, right? Just like this example was given of Bharat Maharaj specifically, Virapti, one of the 9 Anubhavas of Bhakti, Virapti, detachment. So example given Bharat Maharaj. So he said he left the kingdom like someone leaves stool. So when you leave stool, it is not that you lament the stool coming out, or rather you rejoice. This is very good, especially if you've been constipated 1, 2, 3 days, you get a little nervous. On the 4th day, you pass nicely and you have party in your head. This is very nice. So like that, I already quoted the other verse also. Kem te kamas suras pahar makunda manasodija adijahu mudha rachna shuddhi tarsha yatetara. It's interesting how the verses stick in your head after you quote them in the class, and then in an hour it'll go away from my psyche. But in any case, this verse I already quoted. That when they are makunda manasa, those opulences have no appeal for them. So for those who the opulences will have no appeal, the Lord may give the opulences. Sudam Brahmana, certainly opulences had no appeal for him. So they may get, but for the rest of his devotees, the opulences may have some appeal. So he'll not give it to them, because then how they will do bhajan? They will not do bhajan. So that may be how we reconcile that sort of thing. Okay, that's the best I could do with that one. There's a private message. Just owning a car is frustrating. What to say of a house and job and a bunch of crap. Especially when I was in Chicago, owning a car for me was extremely frustrating because I got into at least 2 accidents. I got hella tickets many times over. It was always so embarrassing. I had to go to the authorities like, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I got another ticket, and or it was breaking down and I had to call AAA a few times. It's just like, yeah, life is complicated the more things you have, for sure. All right, Sham says, question, but the real mercy is only meant for the Akinchana devotees. So why does new devotees whose bhakti is still evolving get that kind of mercy? Oh, thank you for asking me that question. I was supposed to bring that up. That's what I was forgetting. The verse for the Prahlad Maharaj verse is 7:9:16. Yeah, I actually had it pulled up here to speak about that. So, because that question came in my psyche also when I was going through the verses, that for those who are the Akinchana or the Akantidiya, then they get this mercy, not others. But no, others also get this mercy. So why is that? So the answer to that question comes from this verse. So I actually was studying Bhakti Sandarbha this morning just for this question, because it came in my mind. I forgot to speak it. That's why I was hiccuping at one point in the class. So I'm forgetting something I wanted to say to this verse. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udhari dihiti vrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So Jiva Goswami is quoting this verse, saying how bhakti bestows the fruit of all sadhanas. Karma sadhana, gyan sadhana, yoga sadhana. By this bhakti alone, it bestows the fruit of all the sadhanas. So this verse says, whether you are without desire, you have all desires, or you have desire for moksha, you should do bhakti yoga only. Tivrena bhakti yogena. Because bhakti will bestow the fruit of all these sadhanas. So there's 2 ways in which people apply this. One way, Jiva Goswami speaks to this. One way they apply it is that they follow some sadhana, karma, yoga, jnana, and they use bhakti as a supporting element. They use bhakti as a supporting element of their sadhana. So that is an aparad to Bhakti Devi, right? Because to consider Bhakti Devi to be equal to, right, what is the 8th offense? To consider to be equal to Dharma, Artha, Vrata, Vairagya, it's considered aparad. So if you're using it as a support, that means like in a subordinate position, that is even more aparad. But Shastra is telling like this. So Bhakti Devi only bestows you the fruit of that sadhana. You don't get anything more from Bhakti Devi. And she may not give it also if she's feeling a little salty about it that time. She may not give it also, but she will only give up to that fruit. If you do karma, yoga, again, sadhana, and you use bhakti as support from that upper route, you'll only get the fruit of that sadhana, swarga or liberation. But if you desire those things, swarga, liberation, but you only use bhakti to do it, timena bhakti yogena, you only use bhakti to do it, then Bhakti Devi may give something more because you've only taken shelter of bhakti to fulfill that fruit. So in that regard, Jiva Goswami quotes this famous verse, which I have pulled up because I was supposed to speak about it. This is 5:19-27. This is an important verse. Comes up in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is an important verse for our theology. Satyam dishatyarti tam arti tonirna. So it says Satya means it is certainly true. It is certainly true. Satyam, truth, true. It is certainly true. Arti tonirnam. When humans pray to the Supreme Lord for different objects of this world, then dishati artitam, he bestows them he offers them what they pray for. He offers them the arti that they pray for. So this is certainly true. So if you go to God for swarga, for liberation, whatever it is, he will certainly bestow it. It's true. However, naivartado. So naivartado means that they are not, he actually doesn't offer them anything by offering them that. Because why is that? Yapunar. Because again, so first of all, naivartado. Naivartado means that even though he's offered them whatever they've required, it is as if he's offered them nothing. Naivartado. It is as if he's bestowed them nothing. Why is that? Yatpuna. Because again, after they enjoy whatever it is that they ask for, again, they want something more. Arti Tayata, again, they petition God for something more. Why are they petitioning him again? Because they weren't satisfied. So again, the whole purpose of enjoying things is satisfaction. That is the whole purpose. The purpose is not the thing itself. It's not even the pleasure that comes from the thing itself. It's for the satisfaction of the heart. That's why the seminal question of the Bhagavatam, Yayatma Suprasidati, they are asking how I can get satisfaction of the heart. That is, what is a sadhana that will give me the sadhya, that will give me Atma Suprasidati? So these other sadhanas, you get something, but the Atma Suprasidati isn't coming. So the Atma Suprasidati doesn't come, then you will ask again for something. So Naivartado, he bestows nothing by bestowing them what they want. Because again, they will petition him because they're not getting Atma Suprasidati. So the Lord, noticing this pattern, now this pattern is for those who only use bhakti to get what they want. So this is why they're called as pure devotees also. They only use bhakti to get what they want. Even if they're using bhakti to get swarga or liberation, they only use bhakti. So he notices this pattern amongst those who are only using bhakti to get what they want. So svayam vidate bhajatam anichatam icha pidhanam nijapada plava. So what does he do? Swayam vidate bhajatam. So those who do his bhajan, he bestows upon them his lotus feet. Swayam vidate nijapada palavam. He bestows upon them their lotus feet. Anichitam, even though they didn't desire that. Now, why didn't they desire it? Because they don't know that there's so much happiness there in the lotus feet of the Lord. That's why they don't desire. If they knew, if we knew, we would desire that, but we don't know, so we don't desire. We take other things instead. But since we only did bhakti to get those other things, the Lord says, I'm noticing this pattern that you keep asking me for stuff. I give you the stuff that you want. You're not getting Atma Suprasidati, so you ask me again for another thing. So noticing this pattern, why I should keep giving you the things that you're asking for, when they're not giving you the thing that you want. You understand? Why should I keep giving you the things that you're asking for if it's not giving you the thing that you want? The thing that you want is the satisfaction of the heart. That's what you want. And I'm noticing that. I've taken note of that. So because of that, I'm going to give you my lotus feet. How about that? I'm going to give you, but I don't desire those lotus feet. I need you to tell me why you don't desire, because you don't know that this will give you what you want. Because I need you to tell me, when you get those lotus feet, you get that Atma Suprasidati, Icha Pidhana. So Icha Pidhana means it covers or removes all the desires, because now you got what you want. what you wanted was Atma Suprasidati. So you got what you want. So this verse is quoted by. So yes, this glory that we heard from Vichasura is for the akinchanas. It is not normally for others. But if the others take refuge only of bhakti to get what they want, then Bhakti Devi will give them something more than what they're asking for. Bhakti Devi will give them what they want. So that is why the Bhagavatam is very encouraging. Hey, even if you have other desires, no problem. Just do bhakti to get what you want. Just do bhakti to fulfill those desires because you'll get something extra. So that is a very encouraging, nice message from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So thank you for asking that question. I had planned on bringing it up and I had totally forgotten about it. So it was meant to be said, it seems. So you were inspired to ask the question. Okay, Mukunda's got something.
Yeah, it was a beautiful answer. I'll have to, there was a lot of background sound over here on my side, so I'll have to go back and hear the rest of that. But my quick question was that last verse that you were covering, that Vritrasura was giving those different analogies. And then his last analogy that he gives is about the wife waiting for the husband. And the explanation is like, you know, the husband coming back will obviously please the wife, but the wife also wants to please the husband. And I was just thinking about, you know, as that translates to devotional sentiment, the devotee, you know, it's just interesting, like where we kind of are trained to feel like we have nothing to offer Krishna, you know, like that we are insignificant and we have nothing that could possibly please Krishna. But then it seems like a more, you know, as a devotee forms a real relationship with Krishna, I guess they start to feel that they actually do have something to offer Krishna to please him. And so I was just wondering if you could comment on kind of this dichotomy of feeling like we have nothing to give, but then we should also learn to feel that we can do something to please him.
You know, what my mind is going to immediately is that attitude, I have nothing to offer, therefore I won't offer anything. It's a cop-out that is part of the impersonal disease that the souls are afflicted with in this material world. It's basically the cop-out, is basically the not wanting to embrace the responsibility of being a full person. So being a full person means that there's something for you to do also. Maybe I don't have a lot to offer, you know, but there's some responsibility for me to take up. There's something for me to do also. So I think that sort of sentiment in its sort of dysfunctional state it fuels our impersonalism. So okay, I have nothing to offer, therefore I'll just wait until the Lord gives me this, that, and the other, or reciprocates. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting, I'll do other things, or I'll think about other things, I'll aspire for other things, and so on. But having an estimation of what you can offer to the Lord, or knowing that the Lord is wanting something from us. He wants something from us. Just like the devotee is like a flute. You know, a flute? So the flute by its own power cannot make any sound. Only the breath of the flute player passing through the flute allows the flute to make sound. But the sound is so wonderful that the flute player himself also enjoys that. But it is his own breath, actually, that in one sense that he's enjoying, but his own breath by itself is not as enjoyable as his breath passing through the flute. And therefore he enjoys that much more. So the devotee, we are like flutes in this sense, or potential flutes at least, if we get our sadhana together and attain sadhya bhakti. We're like flute. So by our own power, we don't have much. But when the breath of God in the form of bhakti passes through us and is offered back to God in the form of our devotional service, then it is more pleasing to God than his own breath, so to speak, by itself. And so we have something to do. We have to become fine-tuned instruments, so to speak. Now we're like a busted flute. So make the flute nice. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabunoy Shravanade Shuddha Chitte. Karayaudo. Shravanade Shuddha Chitte, when our chitta is Shuddha. That means we've done the work to make the container, nice, our soul, so to speak, like a nice flute. And then the breath of God, Bhakti, praying Bhakti, passing through that, and then coming back to God. Then it becomes very relishable for the Lord himself. So we may not have much to offer, but we can make ourselves a very nice flute to be played by the Lord. And that way he can enjoy us. And we can not only enjoy us, but we can give pleasure to him also. And we also enjoy. Just like the gopis are praying, and Venu Gita, they are praying about the flute. Gopya, anyway, they're playing there's verses there, third verse there in Venu Gita. I've been spending some time with that recently. So they're praying that what auspicious activity did this flute do to be able to be played by Krishna? So the flute is getting pleasure from the lips of Krishna, and the flute is also giving pleasure to Krishna. So we should think like that. There's something for us to do. There's something for us to offer to God. But that takes us embracing the full responsibility of being persons. So I think that's why we resist it. And we have this impersonal disease. So it's just easier that way. I don't have to think about what I have to do, what I have to give up, what I have to sacrifice in order to become whole. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, last thing, Kirsham Saki, let's say, when you said pandemic was given by Krishna to see who all really want him, it's not literally given by Krishna, isn't it given by the material energy? You mean to say desire is Krishna, but manifestations to material energy? Similarly, who gives the material opulence to the devotees? Devotees, everything given by Krishna. That's how a devotee thinks, okay? That make it simple. You can explain the ontology. Ontology, you can say, oh, it is given through material energy, like that. That is one type of class. But we're trying to think in form of feeling, and forms and feelings. So it's given by Krishna. Because devotees are getting off track with their bhajan. But Krishna is the giver of love. No, Krishna is also the giver of calamity. Vipade santuta shashvat tatra tatra jagaguro. Bhavatam darshanam yashara punar bhavadarshana. Krishna has given these calamities so I can remember him. Queen Kunti is praying like this. So Krishna is also the giver of calamity. Why not? He gives calamity to the gopis when he leaves them. He gives calamity to the ordinary devotees when he takes away their opulences. So he's the giver of calamity also. That is not antithetical to his work of giving love. That is part of his work of giving love. So they work together. Why not? We hear that Vishnu gives liberation, not Krishna. Krishna only gives pure devotion. So in his work of giving pure devotion, he may have to give calamity also. He may have to give calamity also. That is part of his work of giving love. That is part of his work of augmenting love, right? He appears before the devotees, yay! And then he disappears. And they experience it as the greatest calamity of life. Tough love. Right. They experience it as the greatest calamity of life, but that augments their love. And then again, he appears in this way as like a polarity engine. So this is part of his work of giving love, that is non-different. So devotees, we shall think like this, that everything is given by Bhagavan only. Otherwise, we will not be Krishna conscious. If you say it is given by the material energy, then we'll only think of the material energy and the material factors. That's not going to help us. But if it was given by Krishna, then that is very useful for the devotees. So that is how we should think of it. This is sentiment, of course. You can explain the ontology some other way if you like. Siddhari wants to say something, Radha Jivan. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for your wonderful class. I especially appreciate 2 points. One, you shared that beautiful picture, how when Haripasha Prabhu was also here, he was talking about drawing the verses in your heart, he was helping us picturizing it, and that helped, really relish the verses even better. So thank you for bringing that out in that verse, Prabhu. I really appreciate it. I will try to meditate on that today. And secondly, also that aspect of 2, 3, 10, I couldn't understand the part before I was reading it in the commentaries, but now it made clear that, how can somebody may get opulences also, although they're desiring for pure devotee, and how that doesn't act as an obstacle, because Krishna actually ends up giving them full, proper devotion, because they're depending on bhakti only for everything. So that was very interesting. I was reading again fourth canto, continuing the section there. I came for this interesting section where Prachetas, they're asking when they meet Vasudev, for the one last benediction. They have been given by the Lord many things, and they say, we want one last thing. Can you please give us? So then they say this beautiful verse, I think, which all very much connects with today's discussion. They says, Tulyama lavinapi na swargam na punarbhavam bhagavad sangi sangasya martyanam kim utasisa. We do not compare attainment of swarga or liberation to even a moment's association with the devotee. What to speak of comparing it to enjoyments of this life? So, they are, after so many different austerities, penances, everything they have done, and they have seen the Lord. And then the one thing they ask from the Lord is devotee association. And they go on to explain that, it's so nice to hear, the glorification of Lord in association of devotees. That's what they aspire for. So after I actually read this morning, this section, I was thinking that how fortunate we are to receive the devotee association. Just other day on Sunday, Pranahari Prabhu gave this class and he spoke from Bhakti Sandarbha, where it's mentioned, Jiva Goswami says that Krishna, when people go to Krishna and ask for mercy, Krishna's mercy directly comes in the form of devotees association. And if you're really seeking Krishna's direct association, you're seeking his indirect mercy, because his direct mercy is, the devotee association which he has blessed us with. So I thought that could be, something connecting with what he was speaking today.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely.
And one more thing, can I share?
Yes, please.
So this is before, since Harishan Prabhu brought this topic of wealth and opulence, and you were talking about, Yasyam Anugrahami. So this section of this topic is also discussed in the section of Prachetas, because Prachetas are told by Lord that, you will get a lot of wealth and you will enjoy on this kingdom for a long time, and then you'll come to me. So then Shri Vishnu Chatri Thakur talks about this in one of the verses. There, so Lord Vasudeva is telling, Lord Narayan is telling to Prachetas, he's saying, this is verse number 19, 430:19. It says, householders who perform acts of devotion while spending all their time in discussing topics about me are not bound by household life. So specifically in that commentary, Shri Vishnu Chatri Thakur discusses this point, that you have told them to enjoy the earthly pleasures. Now, since these pleasures equivalent to hell are unfavorable to bhakti, why do you force it on us? So this is the question asked by Prachetas, why are you forcing us to this thing? And then Shri Vishnu Chatri Thakur, in the form of questions and answer conversation, is answering that actually the enjoyment which is given to the Prachetas, that actually won't restrict bhakti, because this enjoyment is coming by Krishna's mercy himself. So it is not the same type of enjoyment which comes from gunas. And he says this enjoyment is also seen in the case of Prithu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva, and Manu. So just like in their cases, it didn't act as an obstacle. It won't act as an obstacle for you. And then he says, Sri Vishnu Chatri Thakur adds that my mercy towards persons who have not burned up material impurities is to take away their enjoyment. And then he quotes this verse of Yasyam Anugrahami. So this is another way of looking at the same section. You also explain it in one way. This is another way.
No, this is the same answer I gave to Harisham just now. So you're just giving a nice reference, because Harisham, that was his question also, right? So now we have the evidence. That, yeah, what is it? 430:19. Yeah. So there you have it, Harisham. This is the answer there. Very nice. Okie dokes. 9:30. That's a good stopping time. Hariam Tat Sat. We'll doing chapter 12 tomorrow. Maybe we'll finish a chapter this week. I forget how long chapter 12 is. After Vijayasura Leela, then we can study some other book. You can give some suggestions. I was thinking Manashiksha or something. I told periodically I would like to look at other things and some core Gaudiya stuff. So you can think a little bit and maybe we can come to some conclusion. I'll write about it when I get my old jacked up phone, which I left at a friend's house. Okie dokes.
For Manashiksha.
Okay. Hariom Tat Sat.
Jaya Shiksha. Anyone is fine.
Okay. Haribo. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hari Hari.